If you're a fan of One Piece and you've never been to the 10 statues that are located in Eiichiro Oda's hometown, I think this video is for you. If you're planning a trip, I have a lot of tips for you guys because I went there recently and we visited all 10 statues that are located around Kumamoto, which is Oda's hometown. And quite frankly, we had a lot of fun. And I hope you guys will have the same in watching this video, but also I hope that in your trip in the future, you will experience something similar or even better than what we experienced. Welcome to this One Piece focus video. It's Bro Vinny here. In today's video, I'm going to go through number 1, the reasons why the statues even exist to begin with. What are these statues? Number 2, the lore and reasons behind every single statue and why they're placed where they are. Number 3, how to time your trip so that you don't miss out on certain things and make mistakes that we did on our trip. And at the end of the video, I'll also post information about opening hours of certain shops that you need to visit to catch certain figurines. I'm going to go through all of these in no specific order, but we're going to start with why do the statues even exist to begin with. Let me read you something from Oda-san. Everything began from this message, which we've got here translated. There was a big earthquake in Kumamoto, but actually it was multiple earthquakes over several days. I was born in Kumamoto. It is my hometown. To everyone greatly affected by the damage, I hope you are doing well from the bottom of my heart. I was able to reach my family and friends. They are scared but hanging in there. Everyone I contacted said things to put me at ease. They are so strong, but there is a limit to human endurance. Before they reach their limit, I want to comfort them somehow. Adults must not worry their children. Most of all, I want the children to laugh. If they laugh, adults can do their best. Right now, it is still hard for us civilians to help, but I will definitely help with the relief effort. Don't give up. And following this message, in 2016, after this series of earthquakes, Oda-san donated 800 million yen, which at the time is worth the equivalent of the bounties between Zoro and Luffy added together after the Dressrosa arc. Why Dressrosa arc? Well, because 2016 was approximately where Dressrosa arc had ended. 2 years following that was when the Luffy bronze statue was installed in Kumamoto to symbolize Kumamoto's post-disaster recovery. And then for the following 4 years, they would continue to put more statues from the crew members of Luffy's crew in all sorts of areas around Kumamoto to help with the reconstruction. And I guess to bring in the tourism into all those areas as well. What they call the One Piece Revival Project, or rather the Hinokuni reconstruction arc. Kuni meaning kingdom, and the Hi province is an ancient province of Japan that actually encompasses Kumamoto as well. That's why they call it the Hinokuni. And this could have been alluding to the subsequent arc called Wano Kuni in the actual One Piece storyline, which is basically Japan. And side note, the sculptor is extremely talented. All 10 statues were sculpted by hand. You should check out this video. I'll leave a link in the description in the comment section below, where the sculptor himself will tell you how these statues were made. For those planning a trip to see the statues, I also recommend this guidebook, although I didn't use it. I only found it after the trip. It's available online for free. It's got some great artworks, but also it's got a heap of information about the 10 statues and surrounding areas. And they even have like little itineraries of how you can visit all of the statues in a short amount of time, which by the way, I don't recommend. So in this video, I'm going to tell you what I did to get through all of the statues. Now, this kind of itinerary, they try to get you to do all the statues in about 2 days. And that's fair. You might not want to spend all of your Japan traveling time in Kumamoto. But between me and my friends who love One Piece as well, we had to spend extra time everywhere we went, not just to see the statues, but also to check out the surrounding areas, including shops and eateries. But despite spending like good 4 to 5 days around Kumamoto, we still couldn't see everything. And I'll be going through some of the mistakes we made so that you can plan your time sufficiently for your trip. So for the second part of this video now, I'm going to talk about our itinerary and the mistakes and all the statues and the figures that we purchased. So what are these figures that we purchased? These are limited edition figures that you supposedly can only buy at the locations designated around each of the statue. Supposedly you can only get that crew member statue at the designated shop, but of course you can always buy them online at a higher price. But part of our journey is to be able to buy each of the figure at the actual location to fully immerse ourselves in this experience. So let's start with how you would get to Kumamoto. There is actually a Kumamoto airport, so it's right here. It's sort of in the middle of all of the statues you can see numbered. But that's not how we got there. Yes, you can fly straight into Kumamoto, but there might not be as many flights. But if you do manage to get to Kumamoto airport, you might already see some One Piece merch around the airport shops and so on. We actually stayed in Fukuoka, stayed a night there, and then traveled by Shinkansen all the way down to Kumamoto, then hired a car to drive around to each of the statue. By the way, if you're in Fukuoka, the first Ichiran ramen restaurant is actually in Fukuoka. So if you have time, go check out the original Ichiran. And once we got to Kumamoto, we rented a 4-wheel drive for 4 of us with enough space to hold all of our luggages and still be able to sit comfortably in the car. So I recommend getting a reasonably comfortable car for your travels. Yes, you can do tours, but just a reminder, the tours may be quite time limited. You really just focus on seeing the statues themselves. You may not have that much time to do your shopping and do any museums on the way, etc. And the other thing we needed to do was to buy each of the figurines at each of the locations. So with a tour, again, they may not have enough time for you to do that, but also you may not actually hit the correct opening hours at each of the shops, because shops, believe it or not, have their own opening hours and dates. So scheduling that was part of the difficulty. Again, I'll post some opening hours at the end of this video so you can get all the information there. But as a result of that, your itinerary may not look exactly like ours, because you might find that you can't hit certain shops because they're closed on the day that you're there. So you have to move things around a little bit. Regardless, I'm going to show you guys what we did. At this point, of course, we've already mapped out the locations of each of the statues, but more than that, we wanted to optimize our time while we're there. So what we did was, beyond this, we also looked around the Kumamoto region to see what else we could do besides just seeing the statues. We are going to focus on the statues in this video, but we are going to touch on some other sites of interest like Takachio Gorge, Kurokawa Onsen, Mifune Flower Village, etc. Alright, so this is the route that we took to see the statues. On the first day, after we got our car, we went straight for Zoro's statue because we know he's gonna get lost otherwise. Zoro also happens to be quite close to Kumamoto Airport. Now, the actual reason we went to Zoro first was because we're heading in the direction of the Sunny Train, which I haven't brought up so far. We highly recommend the Sunny Train for One Piece fans, but if you miss out, look, it is a little gimmicky, so if you miss out, don't worry. But we really enjoyed our experience at the Sunny Train because the Sunny Train takes us to Frankie statue. But let's finish off Zoro's statue first. Zoro's statue is a bit funny. So normally each of these statues are placed in an area that kind of makes sense to their lore. So Zoro is placed for some reason next to a strange playground that didn't seem to make much sense. We thought maybe he was just a bit lost, but apparently after some research, Zoro was actually placed in an area where the dojos were devastated by an earthquake. Now, I'm basing this information on a massive brochure that I received while on the trip, and the region that he's supporting is called the Ozu town, whose martial arts hall was devastated by the earthquake, so he's there to support their reconstruction. But of course, a martial arts hall isn't a touristy spot, so to speak, so to us it was really just a statue next to a playground. Surprisingly though, the playground has a sweet potato thing. We didn't know what it was initially, but it has a sweet potato thing that has a straw hat. We actually think that Zoro might have followed the wrong straw hat to get to that point. Anyway, around Zoro, there's 2 shops that you can actually get the Zoro figurine. Unfortunately, when we went into the first shop, they were completely sold out of all figurines of Zoro. We were extremely disappointed because we thought maybe for the rest of the trip, we just couldn't get any of the figurines. Maybe they're all bought out. Thankfully, that wasn't the case. We went to a second shop, a much bigger shop, and they had plenty of stock of the Zoro figurine. Unfortunately though, at the time that we were traveling there, we couldn't get the first series of the figurines. We got the volume 2. By the time we got there, volume 1 had all been sold out, maybe for some time already. So they were already producing a second series. So throughout the entire trip, we were just buying the second series. Look, the second series is actually very beautiful. They're all colored figurines as opposed to the bronze colored figurines. But if I had the choice, I would choose the bronze color because, well, it just reflects the statues that we saw while we were there. Regardless, I'm still pretty happy because, or at least we managed to get one of each figurine anyway. Now at this second shop, we spent a good hour there just eating and buying stuff and grocery shopping. We even had one of the Straw Hat sweet potato. I guess it's a famous food of this region. Now here's a little bit of a trivia as well. Now Zoro, despite being the first member of the crew, the statue was actually made really late. Sanji's statue was made in 2019, the second after Luffy himself. Zoro's statue wasn't made until 2022. Now, Tax's theory is that Zoro's statue uses one of the swords from Wano arc. So a very small spoiler here, because of that sword that he's got from Wano, the Enma, well, when the statue was planned, I guess Oda-san was thinking of using the Enma on the statue instead of one of the previous swords. So I guess that's part of the reason why Zoro's statue wasn't erupted until, well, during or after the Wano arc, because this statue actually uses the Enma. I guess for Sanji, well, his outfit and appearance doesn't really change that much between the arcs, so besides having the raid suit, which he doesn't even put on permanently, there's not really much going on, so that's why he was the second to be erupted. Alright, on to the next statue, which is Frankie, but before we get to Frankie, like I said, we headed for the Sunny Train. Funny story, this was the last day the Sunny Train was in operation while we were there. We were told that the Sunny Train would go on hiatus for 3 months, kind of like the anime right now, it's on hiatus. The Sunny Train operates between Tateno Station and Takamori Station. Takamori Station is where Frankie's statue is. Now on this map, you don't see the Sunny Train. So I'll show you on my map where it is. It's called Tateno Station, which is this stop here, which is in the middle of Zoro statue, Nami statue, and Robin statue. We went straight to Tateno Station to make sure we got on the Sunny Train, because the Sunny Train only operates like 2 times a day from this station, and it only goes to Takamori Station, then heads back. Heck, despite all the research we did before we got there, we didn't even know whether we could book tickets ahead of time. Turns out we couldn't. We had to get to the station, hope that it wasn't full, bought a ticket at the station to get on the Sunny Train. So good luck if you're traveling there on a busy period. I'm not sure you'll be able to get on the train, but even just seeing the train from the outside would be a good experience anyway. So once we got to Tateno Station, there was parking there, we left our car there, and then took the Sunny Train all the way down to Takamori Station. But it was more than that. The Sunny Train is special. It stops at various locations along the way, and you actually see some cardboard cutouts of other characters that were not made into bronze statues, including Carrot, including Boa Hancock, etc. So it was kind of a bonus experience for us, but for us, one more thing happened on this train. We saw a brochure that told us about a One Piece exhibition that was apparently ending the day after the Sunny Train will end. So for our trip, it thwarted our entire plan for the next day because we decided we're going to check out this One Piece exhibition, which we didn't have planned initially. We were also extremely lucky because on the way during the ride on the Sunny Train, it started snowing, and by the time we got to Frankie at Takamori Station, Frankie had a nice snowy background for our photos. Now, there's actually not too much to do at each of the stations. There are station shops, and at Takamori Station, the shop itself, you can get Frankie's figurines. However, we were just shopping inside the station so much we lost track of time. We didn't check when the next train back towards Tateno station would be to pick up our car. And unfortunately, it would be like an hour or 2 hours. This area is quite remote, don't forget. So it would be an hour or 2 hours before the next train would take us back, because we managed to just miss one when we were shopping. Thankfully, there was a taxi just outside of Takamori station. Then we took that, head back to our car, then went on to Robin's statue. Robin's statue was when I personally realized that each of the statue was placed strategically. So for example, Frankie was placed at a station because, well, you know, Water 7, he's a shipwright, so it kind of makes sense. But on top of that, after the Sunny Train was built, it made absolute sense that the shipwright would be where the Sunny Train would be. So what happened at Robin's statue that made me realize this? It's because Robin's statue is placed at a previous university campus. Why previous? Well, because that area was devastated by an earthquake back in 2016, and the buildings had all pretty much collapsed or halfway collapsed. Some of the halfway collapsed ones are actually currently held up by some structural reinforcements and then kind of turned into an earthquake museum. When I realized Robin is placed at a university, thinking that she's a very cultured person, probably the most intelligent in the crew, that's when I thought, hang on, this all makes sense now. And that's when I started looking deeper into why each of the statue was placed where they are. Now, because we didn't have all of this information until we got there, we didn't save enough time to actually visit the Earthquake Museum where Robin's statue is situated. So if you guys are planning to go see the statues and actually want to check out the museums, make sure you save some time for Robin because she's next to an Earthquake Museum. Inside the museum is where you'll be able to buy Robin's figurine. We do regret not saving enough time for this, but we learned our lesson and hopefully you can benefit from this. Now, after Robin's statue, it was starting to get a bit dark, and that's fine. We've already done everything we needed to do during that day. We headed towards a place called Takachiho Gorge to do some sightseeing, some boat rowing the next morning. I'm not going to go through them in detail in this video. I will look at doing more videos around other things from our Japan trip, either on this channel or on Piggy Nom's channel. So make sure you follow both if you want to learn more about the other parts. But the reason why I bring it up is if you look at the location of Takachiho Gorge, it's closest to Frankie's statue. So after Frankie's statue, or for us, Robin's statue, because we had to go back to pick up our car, well, it just made sense to keep traveling towards Takachiho. You can actually spend a good half a day at Takachiho Gorge, not just doing the boat rowing. You can actually walk around the little town area. They even have a little guide map for you to walk around. We didn't do too much of that. We focused on the boat rowing, and then we had to head back because we have more statues to go to. At this point is where our plans were thwarted. Because we learned about the One Piece exhibition called One Piece Emotion, we had to go all the way back west, almost back to Kumamoto City, to get to the exhibition center called the Grand Messe Kumamoto, where the exhibition was held. So driving all the way from Takachiho back towards the exhibition center, we decided to hit Brook statue first. And Brook's statue is situated in a place called the Dino Park. Why Dino Park? Well, we thought maybe it's because Brook is really old and he's all bones, so dinosaurs just kind of make sense. But the official reason, according to the brochure, that Brook is situated where he is because in Mifune town is where the Heisei College of Music is situated. And Brook, of course, being a musician, and I quote, is there to play music with the Heisei College students to cheer on the reconstruction efforts. Furthermore, Brook's signature skull jokes support the locals in their mental health recovery and their endeavor to build a brighter Mifune. The Dino Park itself is a little bit more for children, so we didn't really do anything there, but we did check out the shop where you can get Brook's figurine. You can get Brook's figurine inside the Dino base entrance, which is pretty much just the entrance towards the Brook statue. So after Brook, On this second day, we then went to see the One Piece exhibition and it was amazing. For a One Piece fan, this trip just couldn't get any better. Unfortunately, this next part of the video isn't going to apply to most of you unless for some reason when you're visiting Kumamoto, you also happen to be hitting a One Piece exhibition. Inside the exhibition, we pretty much got to see the statues once again, but the colored anime versions, which was amazing. And their life size as well. Jinbe's was huge. He was like 3 times the size of everyone else. I couldn't take photos of some stuff, but we got to see some of the draft work towards making the final version of either the manga or the anime. We got to take photos with the giants Brogy and Dory. There were limited edition merchandise you can get. We also got these exhibition limited figurines as well, and spent a good chunk of time doing gachapon trying to get, well, One Piece figurines. Now after this exhibition, we decided to skip all of the statues because we had something else we needed to do on day 2, and that is the original plan of going to Kurokawa Onsen, literally translated to Black River Onsen, which is all the way up north somewhere around here. And while this video is not about Kurokawa Onsen, we had a really good time there. We stayed at one of the ryokans, and you can get these badges where you can go to other ryokans to go visit the other onsens, because the scenery is actually a little bit different in each of the stays, so it's worth doing onsen hopping. Side note, it was on this day that we actually experienced an earthquake. Thankfully, it wasn't a huge one. I don't think many people were affected, but we got an alert on our phone telling us there was an earthquake. Some of us felt it, some of us didn't. It was all over the news, but by the next morning, everything was back to normal. On the next morning, we kept going northeast region to hit an area called the Mifune Floral Village, and it has a huge area for tourism. Like there's so much good food, so many snacks, trinket shops, and so on. Definitely worth checking out if you're in the area, but it's slightly out of the way if you're not normally going to this region, which is why we only planned about half a day to spend at Mifune Floral Village, which was not enough. I wish we had spent more time there, maybe one whole day, and then maybe finding another night to stay somewhere nearby before then heading back to do more statues. We were slightly rushed and we didn't get to check out every single shop, but we definitely had a good time. There was lots of good food. In fact, we spent a lot of time buying condiments, like rice condiments. Don't ask me why, but there was a nice shop there that sold just like little seasoned fish and meats and so on that apparently they use on the ANA flights. Regardless, this is not an ad for them. I'm not sponsored. I just had a good time shopping there. So by afternoon, we headed back towards, well, our next statue, which is all the way back down here, the Usopp statue. Now this here is called Mount Aso. Mount Aso is one of their landmarks in Kumamoto. And at the right angle at Usopp statue, if you aim your camera at the right angle, you'll actually get Usopp pointing towards one of the mountains behind him, which I thought was a really cool sight. So see if you can get a shot like that when you visit. Usopp is actually situated at a train station, and near that train station, one of the shops is where you can get his figurines and buy a lot of different local produce as well. So you get Aso milk, you can get Aso coffee jelly, etc. Now the reason why Usopp is situated where he is because he's next to a huge patch of grassland that apparently the idea is that Usopp can harness the power of nature, and it makes sense that they put him there to help restore the nature. So from Usopp, we skip number 8, which is Robin, because we already did Robin, to head towards Nami. And I personally think Nami's statue was the best and most well crafted out of them all. I really like Robin's statue. I loved all of the statues, but my personal favorite is Nami's statue. It's just so intricate and it's a bit gimmicky because actually Nami is sitting on a treasure chest, and because it's Nami. But you can actually see people dropping coins next to all the berries that she's got next to her treasure chest, and her treasure chest has a little sunny icon on it. And on top of all of that, behind Nami, guess what? There's these plants for either mandarins or tangerines or some sort of citrus fruit, because, well, where did Nami grow up? In a village that produces tangerines. So the reason why Nami is placed in this area is because, well, this is an area with windmills. And guess what? Nami's village is called the Windmill Village. So everything just made sense. By the way, there's a car park where Nami is situated, and at that car park there's a shop, a grocery shop, where you can get her figurine as well. After Nami, we headed towards number 2, who is Sanji. By the way, if you haven't already noticed, these numbers actually represent the order in which the statues were made. So Sanji was made 2nd, Zoro was made number 9, and Jinbe was last. So Sanji is located actually right next to a sports hall where you can actually get the figurine. Now, the lore behind Sanji's statue is that in a nearby location, there's this lunch center that distributes lunch to numerous schools around the area. And because Sanji is a chef, he's there to provide, and I quote, warm, delicious school lunches with local produce as he brings smiles and health to the town's future. So of course, the lunch center is not a touristy place. We didn't go to the lunch center. We went to buy the figurine from the sports hall, but this was where our mistake was. So on this day, it was actually one day after a public holiday. Now, we kind of knew there was a national day of some sort, but we didn't realize it was a proper public holiday. It's called the Coming of Age Day. Usually on a public holiday, everything is closed, but the sports hall remains open, so then they close the day after. If we had known that, we wouldn't have showed up to Sanji's statue to be met with the sports hall where they sell the figurine closed, so we didn't get Sanji's figurine on this day. Thankfully, we still had a bit of time the next day to come back to get the figurine before we returned the car. So just be aware of some public holidays. So while all the other shops are closed on the public holiday, the sports hall closes the day after. Regardless, there's not too much to do from a tourism perspective at the sports hall, so we just visited the statue. Now, after Sanji, we called it a day, went to get some dinner at a ramen place. Then the next morning, we actually went for a jog to Kumamoto Castle. Not related to the statues, but we thought we'd check out the local touristy spots anyway. So we went to Kumamoto Castle. Good experience, learned a lot, then head on over to Luffy statue. Now, Luffy's actually located in a pretty central kind of CBD area of Kumamoto. So typically you can just get there by bus or train or whatever you want. You don't really need a car. If you're just going to Kumamoto for a day or two and you're not planning a trip to visit all of the other statues, you just want to see maybe one or two, Luffy and Chopper are more city center type of statues. So for Luffy, when we got there, we had to pay for parking because it's CBD. And that's fine, we weren't there for long anyway. We went to the statue, which is located in front of the Kumamoto Prefectural Government Office. At Luffy's statue, you can even see Eiichiro Oda's handprint on the statue base. And you can put your hand on it to see how it compares in size. For the Luffy statue, you definitely don't need a tour group to take you there. You can just go there on your own. In order to get Luffy's figurine, we went to the Lawson underneath the government office, which sells the figurines. And some of the figures have a second shop, and that includes Luffy as well. I'll put the information at the end of this video. After that, we took a 10-minute drive. It's very close. So from number 1 to number 4, number 4 is the 4th statue that was erupted, Chopper statue. Chopper statue is in front of a zoo. Now, by public transport between number 1 and 4, Luffy and Chopper, it's actually a good half-hour ride, and it includes a lot of walking. In fact, just walking between those two statues is about a 35-minute walk. If you walk fast, you can probably get there faster than public transport. My recommendation is you can catch a taxi for a 10-minute ride. If you got a medium-sized group, maybe 4 people, the taxi might not even cost you that much. Now, we didn't have time to check out the zoo, but if you like zoos, maybe you should plan a bit more time to visit the Chopper statue. We didn't have time, and we didn't actually expect there to be so much to do around each of the statues. We initially thought it would just be like a half-hour thing at each statue, but how wrong we were, because all the shops and museums and everything, we kind of missed out on some stuff. So we missed out on the Earthquake Museum, we missed out on the zoo, etc. Chopper's figurine you can purchase at the zoo entrance, so you just go inside. Chopper's statue is understandably the smaller statue of all of the statues. And finally, the last statue that was erupted is Jinbe statue, who also happens to be the last crew member that we currently know to join Luffy's crew. And by no coincidence, Jinbe statue is placed at the seaside. The most difficult statue to get to will be Jinbe statue because it's the furthest relative to any other single statue and isn't exactly conveniently located for public transport access. Pretty much all public transport access will be over an hour ride to get there and then an hour back as well. Thankfully with a car, it was a 35 to 40 minute drive, which wasn't too bad, except for the fact that we kind of missed the turn at the end. And because it's quite a remote area once again, where we missed the turn, we had to drive a long way before we can turn back. So it was a small mistake on our part. I imagine a lot of people make this mistake, so don't miss your turn when you get to Jinbe. And as you know, the first son of the sea, and also a fishman, is located next to the seaside. And there's a very nice lunch place there. It's just basically a grocery shop and you can get some food there and you can sit outside. The shop is called Okage-sama Moba and it's next to the statue, and that's where you can buy the figurine as well. If you like seaweed, this is the place to eat seaweed. They have a lot of items that have seaweed. We really enjoyed the food there and I think you guys will too. Now on the way there or back, at this intersection, there's a station called Uto. Now Uto actually has quite a few shopping areas, including several huge department stores. We spent quite a bit of time there. We didn't realize this. We thought we'd just drop by one of the shopping areas, but the reason why Jinbe is located in this area, besides the seaside lore of it, is to help, well, reconstruct this seaside district, Uto, as you can see here. So we spent a fair bit of time doing our touristy stuff, buying stuff, clothes, or we went to the secondhand shops called Book Off. So we spent a little bit of time there shopping, which is great, knowing that we were actually boosting the economy, which Jinbe is meant to be supporting. Before then, we drove back to our hotel. So there you have it. That was our entire One Piece statues expedition. This is something that I think for a true One Piece fan, you really shouldn't miss out on. And if there's no chance that you'll ever be able to visit, hopefully this video has helped you get some insight on what it's like to be there. Now, even if you're not a huge fan, you'll still enjoy the food and the scenery and learn things, or maybe go to the onsens on the way as well. I think there's a lot of nice things to do in Kumamoto anyway. And as promised, this is the website where you can find the information about when the shops open and close for the figurines. Of course, you can't buy this anymore. Maybe they'll restock this in the future, I'm not sure, but when we were there, we only got the volume 2 stuff. This is the Japanese version of it. If you keep scrolling, you'll see the English version. So again, you can see Luffy. There's 2 places you can actually buy the figurine. You can buy it at the Lawson, which opens at 9 to 5, and it can get very busy at lunchtime. And I frankly agree. We were there at some random hour and it was packed. So maybe avoid lunchtime, because everyone from the office is probably coming down to Lawson to buy their actual lunch, and you might just get in their way trying to buy your figure. Or you can go to the hotel Kumamoto Tersa. We didn't go there. Apparently it's open all year round, which is great because you can see the close times as well. So you need to plan for this in your itinerary. For Sanji, I told you that the gymnasium closes the day after a public holiday and otherwise closed on Monday, but it'll be open if Monday is a public holiday. So just read this carefully. Usopp is open all year round because it's kind of like a grocery shop. It's a train station shop. Chopper is at the zoo. So once again, it's open on a public holiday, but it will be closed the day after a public holiday, but otherwise closed on Mondays. Brook is closed Monday and Thursday, but again, open if it's a holiday, but then closed the following day. Frankie, because it's a station, it's open all year round. Nami is open all year round because it's kind of like a grocery shop. For Robin, there's actually 2 places you can buy. We got it at the Earthquake Museum. Once again, the public holiday issue, or you can get it at this roadside station, which we didn't go to. For Zoro, we went to the hobby shop, which completely sold out of the Zoro figurines, both versions. For Ozu roadside station, they had a lot more stock and they had a lot of other things to buy as well, although the hobby shop has other figures to buy, other items and toys to buy as well. For Jinbe, it's just that one shop, but it has specific closed dates. So try not to hit Jinbe on a date that's closed because there's really not much else going on right next to Jinbe. We really did like the seaweed stuff, so we recommend going on a time where that shop is open. Thank you for watching, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed my journey to the One Piece statues, and if you're planning a trip yourself, hope you guys have a good time. Let me know if you guys have any questions down below, or if you found any of this information interesting, different to what you normally hear about One Piece. Let me know in the comments section below. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and make sure you subscribe to Piggy Nom's channel as well. We'll be looking at uploading some videos about our Japan trip on both channels.